Hey, today we're going to be installing a Corsa Sport exhaust on a 2009 C6 Corvette. As you can see, I've got the car jacked up on some quick jacks right now. You need to get the back end up pretty high. And over here we've got the new exhaust in the box. So the first thing we're going to do is get under the car and remove the old exhaust. Alright, so to complete this job you're going to need a few tools. I got a few extensions here. These are 1/2 inch drive extensions. I'm sorry, 3/8 inch drive extensions. I've got a 18 millimeter socket, a 15 millimeter socket. These are 1/2 inch drive with the ratchet, a 3/8 inch drive with a 13 and a 15. Couple of wrenches here, a 13 and a 15. A deep socket, 18 millimeter deep socket wrench. A torque wrench for doing up the clamps. You're going to need some anti-seize lubricant for the pipe joints, and of course some WD-40 or some other spray for lubricating the nuts, and also the rubber hangers for the mufflers. Alright, now I'm going to get started. The video might be, apologize for video might be a little bit shaky because I'm going to be underneath the car. There's not room for a tripod under there, so I'm going to have to hold the camera while I'm doing some of these things, but hopefully it won't be too bad. Okay, so from underneath the car here, I'm going to remove these bolts here. There's 4 bolts to get these off, 15 millimeters. So I'm going to take those off now, and then we'll work our way towards the back of the exhaust. Okay, so we got those 4 nuts off there, the 15 millimeters, and then we're going to move back towards the back of the car here, and right where the pipe, we have 2 hanger bolts. So these are 13 millimeters. So we're going to take these 2 off, and then the X pipe should be loose towards the front. The only other connection that we have on the X pipe is the clamps here. So we just have the clamps, the hanger bolts, and then the 4 bolts at the top. Okay, so I took those 2 hanger bolts off, and then the last thing we have to do for the connector pipe is remove these 2 clamps. There's one on each side, one here, both 15 millimeters. So we're going to take that off, and then the whole X pipe or H pipe is going to be loose, and then we can move on to the mufflers. Take this X pipe out of the way, and I'm going to move these out of the way, slide these back this way, both of these clamps, and then it should drop down. What I've done is I've got like a bucket here upside down, since I'm working alone, to take some of the weight. So I'm just going to set the pipe on there as it comes out. So I dropped that front end of the X pipe down. I've got it sitting on a bucket, and last thing I got to do is loosen up these connections so that the pipe slides out of here. Then I can take the exhaust off. Okay, so I've got the X pipe removed from the exhaust now. It's just sitting here on the bucket with the weight, so I'm just going to take it off and set it on the ground. And the next step is removing the hangers in the back of the exhaust. Take this sway bar off here to swing it down out of the way. You need the 18 millimeter here to take this bolt out. That's this one here. And take that out of there with an 18 millimeter. And on the bottom you need 18 millimeter here, and hold the back of it with a 15 millimeter. So you want to get your ratchet wrench there and hold that one, and do the 18 millimeter here, and take these off, and then do that both sides, and then we can swing it down out of the way. And as you can see, this is loose here and loose there, and then the sway bar just will swing down like this. Just kind of give you an idea. It's just gonna hang there. These are still connected over here. I didn't loosen those at all. Just these 2 off. You can even leave that bolt in. It'll just drop down out of the way, and now we have clearance to get these out of here. To get both of these out is to remove the hanger bolts, and this will loosen the entire hanger. You could pull this out of the hanger, but there's really not enough clearance to do that. So I've found that it's easier just to take both of these out. There's one on that side and one right there. And I believe those are 13 millimeter. I'm going to check that. Yeah, so those are 13 millimeter. Both of those. So I'm just going to take both of these out all the way, and I'm going to have to hold up the exhaust with a hand as I get this loose. And I'll take those out, and then I'll show you how to pull it out over the axle. Actually, 2 muffler hangers on each muffler. So there's one on the inside here, and then one here, which I took out, and then there's one here, and then one over on this side as well. So there'll be 4 bolts, 4 brackets. So the ones on the inside are a little harder to get to because there's not enough room to get your hand up in there with the regular wrench. So what I did is I just set up a longer extension on my ratchet and a 13 millimeter socket, and that way I can reach up here and take them out with that. Since we have this drop down, I need to take this out. This is actually a little bit long for a regular socket, so I'm going to use my 18 millimeter deep wrench on that, deep socket wrench, and get that on there and take both of these out. Now that's going to take the pipe off of the muffler, so then all I have to do is pull the pipe over the pipe right off there. And then the last step is just twisting this to the right angle. Don't have to do that with 2 hands to get it out over the axle. Okay, so we're gonna start installing the new one. Got the new pipe here. I fed it over the axle. The only thing you need to know is make sure, this is really important, is to use the anti-seize on the connections. You don't want to tighten all the connections up first. You want to get them in there, and the anti-seize will let them slide around till you get it in just the right angles and the right positions. Then you can tighten everything up. So make sure you put that on, and then we're going to slide it in here and tighten up the bracket. Okay, so now I got to put the H pipe back on. As you can see, I got the set up here, and I just have to put these 4 bolts back on. These are 15 millimeter ones, and then I've already got the new pipes. Okay, so I have the new pipes just in the H pipe, but not tightened up yet on both sides. And then if we come back here, I've got it set up. So now I'm just gonna start from here, put these 4 bolts back on, and then connect the 2 hanger bolts. I've put these on here, but I don't put them on tight yet because otherwise you won't be able to get the rest of it on and adjusted properly. So put it on, but just barely snug, because you're going to need a little bit of wiggle room. These are the hanger bolts. I've got those on, and we've got nothing on the end of the pipe yet. So here's where we're going to feed the well, these are connected, but I have nothing on the other end of the pipe, which you can't see yet, but I'm going to put the mufflers on with the hanger bracket. Here's my new Corsa exhaust. You can tell the right from the left by the serial number on there, and so I just labeled it while I was working on it. So that's the right passenger side, and that's the one I'm going to start with. I'm going to put the Torque clamp on here, and also the hangers on there, and slide those on there. You might need some WD-40 or something just to lubricate the rubber, slide them on. Okay, so I got the clamp on there. I put a bunch of anti-seize underneath there so that I can slide that around. I lubricated up these and slid the hangers on, and now I'm going to go attach that to the axle. Put an anti-seize on the axle pipe as well. Make sure you have plenty on there. I actually have an extra tube of it. So once it's on there, then we can connect the exhaust and have your hanger bolt ready so we can take some of the weight off. I think I had my hanger brackets on there backwards, so I'm going to try it like this. So pay attention which way you have them, because they won't fit up in there when you're putting the muffler on if you got them on the wrong way. Okay, that's slid up in there very easily. Just make sure that you have the bolt for the bracket facing down so that you'll be able to tighten it up. It's facing down. The hanger bracket does go like that, fits up in there nicely. The muffler comes down at an angle here, and then the exhaust goes out like that. So what I'm going to do is put the other exhaust hanger, bolt that in, and then I'm going to put the other one on and then tighten up all the connections. Okay, I've got the exhaust all on here now. What I've done is try to use the edge of the car as a way to kind of measure, make sure the tips are evenly spaced out. So this is where you need to be real careful. Take your time, make sure you take a break so you have some patience to do this. Get everything measured and lined up before you tighten everything up. So what I'm going to do is start at the front of the car and tighten and work my way back, slowly tightening and rechecking the tips to make sure they're still level and spaced out correctly, and just start at the back or start at the front and go back, and probably have to do a few iterations. I'm going to start torquing these up now. I believe these, from what I looked up, these are 18 pound-feet of torque. So I'm going to get these tightened up, and now I'm going to move backwards. Okay. All these torque clamps, according to the Corsa instructions, are supposed to be done to 45 foot-pounds or pound-feet of torque. So I'm going to do these rear ones, and then I'm going to recheck the exhaust for make sure it's still level, and then I'll do the last ones. Okay, so the last thing I had to do, well, for the exhaust, is torque these last bolts up to 45 pound-feet. So I got both of those tightened up, and I've measured the exhaust a couple times to make sure it's fine. The very last thing we're going to do is tighten up the sway bar nuts and bolts again. Okay, so I gotta tighten these up. These are going to be, the nuts are going to be at 70 pound-feet here, and then the bolts go in the top are going to be at 74. So I'm going to get my torque wrench and do 70 here, 74 on the top, and do both sides. All right, so here's the best part. We get it all tightened up. We're ready to start this up. Everything sounds good. So if you're doing this job, mine was a little bit different because I was taking off an aftermarket exhaust, a Borla exhaust. But if you're taking off the stock exhaust, you might need a little more clearance because they're only one piece over the axle pipe with the exhaust pipe. But you don't need as much as a C5, but you might need a little bit more. But it is definitely doable in your garage on jack stands.